certain way?
What was that again?
What would you like to see bodybuilding go in a certain way? What would you like to see as a if you were competing, what would you like to see bodybuilding go for your opinion?
um, where would I like to see it go? Um, that's kind of broad, so I'm gonna explain it the best I can.
Go ahead.
For women's bodybuilding, that division, I would like to see women's heavyweight, middleweight, lightweight, because you got all different shapes and sizes of women's bodybuilding, and I think it needs to be broken up in different categories within inside the women's bodybuilding. Same for physique. To me, physique is women's lightweight bodybuilding now. I look scrawny next to a physique competitor. I would figure the same, the a bikini the same, wellness the same. I think also too that they need to mix up the judges. I feel like, and I'm not knocking your veteran judges, because the veteran judges have been around a long time, but I think there needs to be some new blood, because I think, let me give you an example. I don't have anything against the Kansas City Chiefs, but I'm tired of seeing them in the Super Bowl. You see what I'm saying? There needs to be some new blood. There needs to be some freshness. There needs to be some changes, because a lot of people say that it's political. I do agree with that. The bodybuilding world and the competitiveness, there is a lot of politics involved. That's another story. And there's other rumors of favors and all this kind of stuff, but I just think it needs to be revamped. I think there needs to be some new blood. I'll say it too. I look at some of these judges and I'm sitting here going, where's your credentials? I do. I look at them and I'm sitting here going, where's your credentials? Just like some people that are fitness trainers in some gyms, I'm sitting here going, where's your credentials? Like, okay, if I'm going to pay to do this and I'm going to compete and I'm looking like I do on stage and I'm looking down at a judge and the judge just looked like he left McDonald's and had 5 Big Macs. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I just think it needs to be changed up and revamped. I'd like to see the bodybuilding world go into it. There needs to be some changes. It's to me, I think it's gotten a little stale and stagnant.
Well,
It's
the thing is, I know it was a few years ago they did have weight classes for women's bodybuilding. They had lightweight and heavyweight,
They should,
and
and they
then
should.
but they did drop that because they figured so much inconvenience of it. And
They
physique
do
looks
it for
like,
the
yeah,
guys.
yeah. Well, you have 212, you have that, and even that getting pushed out.
And
But
should get paid more. I mean, you have Mr. Olympia who makes $400,000, and then you have beautiful Miss Andrea Shaw, who I think only gets 40,
50,
50. That's
and she gets
bullshit.
that at the Rising Phoenix.
I'm sorry. We put in just as much work as the guys do. And I get it. I get it, because like I said, there's a big controversy. There's people that don't even want women's bodybuilding because they're like, oh, they all look like men and they look gross and blah, 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 but some of them do look like men. Andrea does not look like a man. Angie O does not look like a man. Okay.
Oh, she's good.
And so she's a badass.
Yeah, I'm a
And
fan of
so
Andrew.
you still have women that are feminine and some that have lost their femininity. I mean, look at Margie. Margie still looks feminine. Margie's beautiful. And I just think it needs to be revamped. I really do. I'd like to see it go in another direction, and be a little bit be a little bit more fair, you know.
Mhm.
You know, don't be afraid to see somebody that's just walked in off the, you know, out of the gym, and they're an unknown and they look just as good as the popular ones. Give them really give a look at them too, you know.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, my man Keith, he's from Kansas. He will have disagreement with the whole Kansas Chief thing. He most definitely will. He goes to games. He goes to the games. He will have disagreement on that. I can understand that. Yeah, you want to see something different. You want to see more reputation, especially for the women, more opportunities. And
Mm.
we always. I said this. I always say this. The men's division, men's open is always going to be the bottom bitch. You know, the pimping game, the bottom bitch is always the one that makes the most money for the pimp. That's the main family, the pimps,
Yeah.
and they're going always going to get the big money. But y'all ladies, y'all deserve at least. I would say if y'all get Andre at least $100,000, that'd be nice. You $100,000 for Andre, $75,000 for Angela, $50,000 for Ashley.
Mm.
Keep it to the top six. And even the things the promoters, they say the money is really what they get from sponsors or whatever, and especially do pro-ams because that's where they get the money from because the amateurs have to pay.
And
You're not
majority of
even,
the sponsors want to give the money toward the men.
yeah, and
It,
yeah, and you have masters, a lot of older competitors. I know a lady, she's a friend of mine. She's 59 years old. Still competing, and and you just it's just about what they feel like can make money for them, what revenue to get out of it. With this new fit model thing, I think it might be big revenue. I hope they can transition into helping the other divisions. But here's my theory about that. Because it's gonna be so deep like bikini, there's a good chance that they might push out women's physique or women's bodybuilding, both of them maybe. There's even talked about, like I saw this podcast with Steve Weiberger. He's talking with Frank Seppi. A friend of mine sent it to me. It was something with Dave Palumbo on his channel. He privatized it, where excuse me, talking about maybe cutting down to the top 15 for the Olympia. And excuse me, the
you
rules keep
okay?
changing. Yeah, I'm fine. I got a little. I was getting off a cold a couple of weeks ago. Still got a cough. It takes a while for me to work out. But yeah, it's just if they don't stick with the standards, if they're telling figure girls, we need you to be more bigger, fuller, then it's supposed to be like that. If you're telling the physique girls, we don't need that. And then some women don't want to go to divisions because they feel like if I go there, I'm not gonna maintain my femininity. But you're evolving as an athlete. You need to go someplace because no point staying someplace and you start placing out as well. You start going last. And you're just trying to either do this, either go up or pull back your training to fit that division. Here we got from my man, Family Jr. He says, I agree with her. He also asked the question, says, what's the difference between wellness and physique? If you can't tell, I'm not going to explain to you. You
I'll
have to
tell.
go ahead. You can tell him, because I'm not going to tell you, because if you're not following the sport, I'm not going to tell you, because if you don't get it,
You should okay, go find a YouTube video and punch in women's wellness. Women's wellness is a notch up from bikini, because bikini, they're still a little, they're, put it this way, they're at their glutes, their ass, and their legs. You can see the difference between bikini and you can see the difference between wellness. Both divisions are about the ass and the legs and the sass. Okay, you got to be sexy, sassy doing those two divisions. But wellness was created for these women that had more ass and legs. That was, I don't want to say loud, but allowed in bikini. It was too much. They had too much junk in the trunk for bikini, so they created wellness. And to me, I'm just like, wow.
well,
They're gorgeous. I mean, the legs and the way they're shaped. Wow.
yeah. Well, truthfully for me, wellness actually was popular in Brazil. They brought it in. It didn't grow like with figure physique and fitness and women's bodybuilding. It was brought in. Same like bikini, because Hawaiian Tropic, the Hooters companies, the pageant shows have them. I call those divisions. They're the teenage divisions, and also I see them as like invasive species. You lived in Florida. You know how like creatures like iguanas and certain snakes are not indigenous to that area because people
Right.
have them as pets and they let them out. They live there, but they're not part of the area. As
Right.
no offense to the competitors, but the division is more of an invasive species. It's brought in because they want to look. And I think one thing because Brazil is very much about the ass and the and the glutes,
A
and that's why it's
majority
so popular.
of yeah,
Yeah,
majority, you're
'cause-
right. A majority of them are Brazilian.
yeah, because just recently the lady who won the Olympia, she's another Brazilian. Just watch one for another. It's harder for women who are either. I'm surprised. I thought more sisters would do well in this, but I don't know what's that. But it's harder for women who are maybe Anglo or Asian because you don't have those. Black women. My sisters are you from the South like I am. Women sisters have the hips and the booty and everything like that. It's just natural, and
Mhm.
it should be dominating. But with the Brazilians, they have it naturally too because they share Afro aesthetics, just like like us.
Right.
Here, this is from my man. He says, "Men, man, I meant." And also he says, if more women supported, if they would make even more than the women. They was talking about, yeah. And also he says, Sammy, he says, it's supply and demand. That's true.
Yeah.
And this is from my man Warrior from McKay. It says, give a female bodybuilder a sneaker and deal endorsement. I wish they would. I would love to see someone like Nike or Reebok or come in there. But the fact is that again, it's always going to be an issue with the steroids thing. That's
Yes.
why it's but